Specialist 2024 Exam 2 question for MCQ. So we are given the value that sine of x equal to a and x is between 3 pi on 2 to 2 pi. We are asked to figure out the value of cosine of x over 2. So I have extracted the question here. So let's look at what is the key point for this question. First of all, we need to recognize that the relationship between x, the angle x, and also the angle x over 2. So that is x and x divided by 2. This relationship is the relationship of double angle, right? Just like the relationship between theta versus 2 theta. Now, so given the scenario, we are given sine of x and we are asked to figure out cosine of x over 2. It is similar to the situation where we are given sine of 2 of theta and we are asked to figure out what is cosine of theta. Right, then how can we do that? So how can we go from sine of 2 theta to cosine of theta? Then there could be many ways that we can do. However, one of the ways that we can do is from sine of 2 theta, we can figure out the value of cosine of 2 theta. And then from cosine of theta, we can figure out cosine of theta using this double angle formula, that is cos square of theta. It will be equal to cosine of 2 theta plus 1 divided by 2. Yes, so let us see how we can do that. Notice in this case, we have that theta is actually x divided by 2. Alright, so now we are given sine of x, right? That is the same of sine of 2 theta, with theta being x divided by 2. And we need to figure out cosine of 2 theta. How can we do that? So the first step is to figure out the value of cosine of x. Right, then now if you are having the value of sine of x equal to a here, how can you figure out the value of cosine of x? Then when we do trigonometry in specialist as well as method, then this is the key formula that we need to remember. That is sine of theta square plus cosine of theta square. What would it give us? It would give us 1. So in this case, theta will be x. So applying this formula, so we will have cos square of x. It will be 1 minus sine square of x, and we know that sine square of x equal to a. So it will be 1 minus a square, and therefore from here cos of x, it will be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus a square. Notice everyone, so every time that you are going from a square, right, to every time you square root a square, then you need to always have plus or minus. So that key formula to remember is that if you have x square equal to a square, then x will be plus or minus plus or minus a. Now, if you only put in the plus, it's not enough. We need to have plus or minus. So this is the key point that we need to remember. Okay, now, so we have two choices for cosine of x, either plus or minus. Then how do we know if it is plus or minus? We need to look at the quadrant, right? Because it says here that x is in quadrant. In this case, x is in x belongs to this quadrant. That is actually quadrant 4. Quadrant 4. Therefore, the value of cosine will be positive, right? Therefore, we will select cosine of x to have the value of plus square root of 1 minus a square. I hope it makes sense, right? So now, looking at the formula that we need to use to figure out the value of cos of x. So in here, I will also replace theta with x divided by 2. So I will copy this and then I'll replace theta with x over 2. So this is the formula that we have. Now, notice if theta is x divided by 2, then 2 theta will be, it's just x. I hope it's understandable. So now we can figure out this value. Okay, then looking back at this part here, we know that cos of x is plus square root of 1 minus a squared. So I can just replace it here. Okay. Right, then so we have the value of cos square of x divided by 2 is this. Then we can figure out the value of cos x. Once again, we are going from a square. We are square root a square. We need to remember that there are two values. So we will have cos of x divided by 2. It will give me plus or minus of the square root of this value. Right. Then how do we know if it is a plus or is it a minus? Once again, we need to look at the quadrant that this angle x over 2 is on. Now, we know that x belongs to this quadrant. X belongs to this quadrant, therefore the angle x over 2, it will be belong to the quadrant of 3 pi over 2 divided by 2. So it would be 3 pi divided by 4. And also 2 pi divided by 2, it would be pi. Which quadrant is it? This is actually in quadrant 2. And because of that, the value of cosine will be negative. So between plus and minus, we will pick the negative one because this angle is in quadrant 2. So therefore, cosine of x divided by 2 will be minus this square root here. And because of that, the correct answer, it would be A. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.